Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our session on circular economy. We have many experts sitting over here, and I'm waiting to hear from them. They are quite experienced in each of their field, and they they have come from bottom to the top, so they know exactly what's going on. They're not here to just talk about circular economy as an academic, but what in reality happens. So I think how I would want to do this, I will want each of you, if you can give a much deeper introduction of yourself, of what each of your company does, and how you are contributing to the circular economy, what kind of waste you are using to convert it into a sustainable product. So, Dr. Salam.
Thank you very much. Appreciate the opportunity. My name is Dr. Salam Sharif. I'm a civil engineer, metallurgist, and executive MBA, and doctorate in socioeconomic sustainability. I'm the founder of Sharif Metals Group back in 1985 in the UAE. We have a group of facilities that run the recycling process of metals that bring the end-of-life material into the production line and into the consumable line. I founded a few NGOs like Bureau Middle East Recycling in 2008 and the Recycling Association of Africa in Nairobi. And I have a long, extensive experience in the Bureau Middle East Recycling, I beg your pardon, Bureau of International Recycling, that's the World Recycling Federation in Brussels, where I served about 25 to 30 years as a chairman. We basically talk the talk, and without further ado, I just want to start with one thing. My daughter just in the morning said, "Daddy, you're going for another conference? You just had finished 2 conferences beginning of this week and last week. What's going on?" I said, "I am there today because I care." Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Salam. Yes, I would like Martin, if you can give a brief introduction.
Sure. Thank you for having me here. So I'm Martin. I come from a slightly different background. I used to race cars, and that was my life. I really like cars. I was not a good race car driver, but yeah, I raced cars. And one day, I got into an argument with my now ex-girlfriend about polluting the environment. And so I made it my life's mission to decarbonize my personal race car with 100% green drop-in fuel that works in high-performance engines without any modification. And that's what I did. And we built a company that has supplied global racing championships, Formula One, World Rally Championships, but also karting and other applications with drop-in green fuel that has a 97% greenhouse gas reduction over fossil fuels and doesn't require its end users, race car drivers, but any user, to modify the engines or the existing infrastructure. And as we built this company, we shipped fuels all around the world to Japan, New Zealand, Canada, and actually realized that, when we make the fuel in one location, even though it's as green as it can get, by the time it gets to the end consumers, it's not as sustainable. And so we've recently launched a new company that takes this technology and packages it in decentralized, small, green mini refineries that you can then deploy closer to the consumption point. So you bypass all of these logistics, emissions, and international choke points. So happy to be here today and discuss about green fuels and sustainability and whatever the panel will bring today.
Thanks, Martin.
Well, thank you. So my name is Charles Gardner. So I work for Neutral Fuels. Prior to that, I was a heavy polluter. My whole career has been in supply chain and logistics, and I was more than happy to burn thousands and thousands of gallons of diesel. And then I made the transition to a sustainable company and realized that that's not actually a great thing to do. So what we do in Neutral Fuels is quite simple, but kind of quite effective, is we collect used cooking oil from this hotel complex amongst many others around the UAE. about 750 locations. We then have 2 refineries, one in Dubai, one in Abu Dhabi, where we refine that cooking oil into diesel. That diesel can be used to run any engine, whether it be a generator, a bus, a truck, anything that runs on diesel fuel. And that creates that circular ecosystem of our waste turns into fuel and is used to power. And I think one to kind of bring that to life would be McDonald's, who we've supported for the last 14 years now here in the UAE. So we collect all of the used cooking oil from McDonald's, and then it goes back in to power their distribution vehicles. So all of the McDonald's trucks is actually operating on 100% biodiesel derived from their own waste, used to fry the lovely chips and chicken nuggets. So it's a good excuse for me at home to actually have McDonald's once a week, because I feel like I'm contributing. My wife doesn't see it that way, but that's what we do.
My name is Mahdi Alhindawi. I'm the CEO and founder of Enjazponic. Enjazponic, we do work in R&D in hydroponic vertical farming system and all type of farm application, let's say, or shape, closed environment, open environment, all type of that technique. I'm programmer initially, and I'm working in glass industry since 22 years after graduation from university. I skipped out from IT and I focus in glass industry. I'm one of well-known expert in glass industry and all type of glass where we supply to the high-rise buildings in Burj Khalifa, these type of projects, and fire-rated glass, shielding glass, all type of glass. And my relation with the agriculture, it's a hobby business, and it's a hobby background which turned to be a business in Corona time, where we took that opportunity to explore this segment from this side. And I'm happy today to be in CARE conference to explain or to participate or to share knowledge about how we can get a real impact in sustainability from vertical farming combined with high-end technology from glass houses.
Thank you everyone. We have a very diverse panel. So Mahdi, I'll just start with you. In terms of farming, we know water wastage is one of the top risks. We wanted to understand how in vertical farming, how you are using this water again, how is circularity impacted when you're producing a large number of crops and plants. How are you managing that in terms of design?
Well, first of all, all of our designs is built based on a closed cycle system. So we have zero waste of water when we talk about irrigation for the crops. And it's not only the waste in water itself, also the waste in the nutrients itself also. So when you have a fully closed system where the water, it's watering the crops and back any extra water, it's back to the tank, taking in consideration the controlling that tank in high technology devices, where we can always be sure about the recipe in the water and the pH and the temperature of the water and all of the important things we want to control in that side. It's in smart device, and now we are in the stage of integration of the IoT with the AI, where it will make a huge big jump in that segment and in that direction. So, but if we're back to the waste in the water, so it's the best solution to use in agriculture, the hydroponics technique, because it's consuming almost, let's say 8% to 9%, maximum to 10% from what normal agriculture consuming in water.
Yes, no, definitely reducing the amount of wastage that is in agriculture is a huge challenge, and vertical farming is definitely addressing that issue. Coming to wastage, I'll come to you, Charles. It is quite interesting, and I think it resonates with a lot of us how a simple used cooking oil can be turned into green diesel. I think we would like to understand more. Is there any wastage involved there? Is it like 100% turns into green diesel? And how does it work in practicality? Like, where can the diesel be used?
Sure. So I'll try and keep the chemistry lesson to a kind of short piece. So we collect used cooking oil, and then we use methanol and a catalyst, and it's a process called transesterification, which then produces two products. One is crude glycerol, and the other one is 100% pure biodiesel. Its kind of chemical trading name is FAME, fatty acid methyl ester. You can use that in its purest form. So we have, like McDonald's, who use it. The Sail GP and the Formula One this year, the generators from Agreco are running on pure B100 biodiesel. But it's a cost versus carbon calculator. So pure B100 is a lot more expensive, nearly twice the price of diesel that you can buy today. So you really have to be sustainably focused in order to do that. So small events like Sail GP, perfect. Long-term running your business, you really want to make a big difference, which is somebody like McDonald's wanted to do. So what we do is we blend that biodiesel with diesel to make different blends. So some of you here may be originally from a country which already has a blend mandate in place. So for me, from the UK, it's B7. So all of our diesel is 7% biodiesel. I think it's Indonesia is on B40 now, as an idea. So different countries all around the world have different mandates. Here, there isn't a mandate yet, but they changed the diesel standard to allow for up to 7%. So it's not mandatory, but you can go up to 7%, and it's still treated as normal diesel. So in terms of the OEMs and it being used, it's widely accepted. And then the crude glycerol we then sell to the pharmaceutical sector to be used within beauty products and pharmaceuticals. It's a pretty complex supply chain from start to finish, because if you imagine a typical restaurant only produces 200 liters of cooking oil a month, and we need to try and have 400,000 liters a month minimum. It's a lot of collections to get to that number. Interestingly, have a think before I say it. How much UCO do you think the UAE produces each month? It's quite scary. It's 4 million liters, roughly. It's hard to put a number on it, but we think through all of the work we've done, there's 4 million liters available. We currently only take 10% of that. We would love to take more, but we need to be able to sell it. And the challenge always is, as we was talking about earlier, is if it's one fill more expensive, why would somebody buy it? So our product is more expensive. So therefore, the customers that we sell to have a corporate mandate. So the government is not saying you have to do it. It's the shareholders, it's the owners of those businesses saying, no, we will do it. We will make a corporate pledge, not to be net carbon zero by 2050, which takes a long time, but actually this year we will commit to B5, or we will commit to B20. And then that's how, so currently we're about 40 million litres, give or take, being sold a year of the total finished product. But it is more expensive. And I think from a sustainability part, lots of things are more expensive. And that's the challenge sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, in this region, there's a lot of investors and shareholders that are pushing for this mandate. And I think we'll be touching base later on how the policy and how UE regulations can support more sustainable products. Because definitely when price comes in, a lot of companies that are not mandated have more options to back off. Martin, coming to you. Why is decentralizing fuel production a major circularity breakthrough compared to the traditional refineries, compared to the traditional approach?
Well, it's a major breakthrough because every customer or country can become energy independent. And if there's anything we learned this year with the weaponization of fuels and with the embargo on Russian gas, with the various trade export restrictions on China, on Chinese lithium and processing technologies, it's that energy independency and sovereignty is a very important thing. And so historically, crude oil is dominated by 13 countries. It's shipped across entire oceans through countless choke points like the Suez Canal or what have you. And by the time the fuel gets to refineries, for example, in the United States, that are on average 70 years old, and actually as of this month, the entire refining sector in the United States is running at about 97.5% of its technical capacity, you start witnessing a complete system failure, where currently here in the UAE, you pay about $2 a gallon for gasoline. In California, it's $4 to $5 a gallon, so double. In Singapore, it's almost quadruple, right? So by decentralizing fuel and being able to make it locally from waste materials, such as captured CO2, or even what Charles is doing through, waste cooking oil streams, you're able to bring the required fuels to the market at sometimes even lower cost, but more importantly, have the stability and supply. And that's what we're trying to change. We're trying to change the notion that refineries have to be enormous $10 billion plants that take 12 years to build. And by the time you build them, the policy changes 10 times. So investment into these mega facilities is challenging for investors because it's hard to foresee where legislation and policy will go. While as our tiny units, instead of having one mega factory, you have millions of smaller units in ports, at airports, racetracks, and you make your own fuel. So that's what we're working towards.
Thanks, Martin. I'm sure UAE will advance their policies further in the coming future. Dr. Salam, first of all, congratulations. I heard you recently got a People's Choice Award on Sustainability, and just wanted you to share your experience on how can metal recycling contribute to a more sustainable manufacturing and a better circular economy?
Yeah, I'm the metals guy here on the floor. So basically, we do this for a living, and it's not only a theory or academia. And basically, the simple analogy is that demonstration of what we do on daily basis, like end-of-life material that gets out of the automobile once the end-of-life vehicle is out of the road. It goes into junkyards for reselling of the spare parts to go for another car, and once it is not sellable any longer, we take it as the dead body of that car, bring it into our facility, reuse the aluminum parts into remelting into secondary aluminum ingots that goes directly to the same specifications and quality control that goes into the Toyota, Mitsubishi, BMW automakers. So they take that end-of-life material through our facility by means of ingots as raw material, and they make another part of it. If we take the battery, for another example, the end of life of the battery after 2 years come into our facility. We have a complete closed loop system that gets the acid electrolyte neutralized, and we get the battery remelted into the lead components by form of ingots that will substitute the primary lead which comes out of the mines. And we have demonstrated this with one of the battery makers in the region here who were buying the raw material from the primary producers and they have realized that our quality is fitting exactly into the specifications of their requirements. As a byproduct, we are saving 85 up to 95% of energy consumption into the process, and also saving not less than 80 to 85% of carbon emissions, in addition to the fact that it's more economically viable for them to buy the recycled product rather than having to reinvent the wheel. And with that, we're targeting the preservation of energy, reduction of carbon emissions, which take care of the climate action by day-to-day living. We also utilize a lot of green financing because there is where a lot of capital-intensive operations is involved, create jobs and opportunities, and with that, I believe we bring the entire cycle into a closed loop. And with that, we are lobbying and advocating for the urban mining compared to deforestation and desertification and all that components which add into the climate crisis. And here we are, a living example for the past 4 decades in the UAE and different GCC countries. So a lot of multiples of those examples have really brought the attention of primary aluminum producers, like I can name it openly, like EGA, who are the primary aluminum producers, the largest in the region. They were somehow obliged to use the recyclable materials into their end product to have material passport into their product, being labeled as green aluminum billets rather than brown. So we have had a transformation of concept. Our industry was called secondary, were called primary. Now our industry in the new rhetoric is called primary, theirs is secondary. And with that, we are having the best times of recognition and advocacy for our industry.
Thank you, Dr. Salam. I think across UAE, there are new regulations and policies coming up. So one of the key questions which most of us has is, where do we see the strongest opportunity areas? So I think I would like to ask Charles, probably if you know, what do you think, which areas in GCC and UAE are where biodiesel can be used, or if it has to be expanded? I mean, you mentioned that UAE has around 4 million, right, of cooking oil, and it's getting wasted. How do you think in practicality it can expand, given the challenges of pricing at the same time?
It's a great question, because if you look at where the countries in the world where there is a mandate, it means that those countries have to have X% of biodiesel. So if you take Europe, one I know very well, Europe itself does not produce anywhere near the amount of either crop-based oil from agriculture or used cooking oil to sustain their biodiesel demands. So Neste, for example, one of the largest refiners in Europe, will import used cooking oil from other markets where there isn't a mandate. So used cooking oil from the UAE goes to Europe, from Saudi goes to Europe, from Qatar, from Bahrain, from Oman, from South Africa, will go into Europe to feed their biodiesel mandate. Even more so now with the new Chinese tax, export tax for biodiesel. I think it's 56% that came out 2 days ago. So if we're going to create more mandates, and let's just take the GCC where policy comes in place, and you create more mandates, you have a competing position for that feedstock, which then means the price of feedstock goes up. It's natural supply and demand economics. And then you have a new entrant now, which is SAF, which if it's made from anything else apart from used cooking oil, I'm very happy. But the most easiest pathway is the heifer pathway, which is used cooking oil. So now you have a whole new industry, which is able to pay a lot more money for the feedstock. And also, our lifestyles are becoming slowly healthier. We're not cooking fried food as much. The Ninja air fryers are making a surge in people's kitchens. So we're living a healthier life. So then it comes back to agriculture. So now you have to harvest. So I think policies create demand. Policies can have an impact on the price. But in the region, you have to look at the price of diesel. It's subsidized in Saudi. I think it's 1 Rial 15 a litre, if I remember rightly, compared to 240 here. So you have to look at the underlying price of what you're replacing. So will it happen in Saudi? It will take a big momentum for that to happen, but other countries maybe.
I think it's more about responsible sourcing for a corporation, how much responsibility they want to take from the type of products they are sourcing out. And I think on the same topic, Martin, what role do you think synthetic gasoline, especially sustainable aviation fuel, can play a role in the market of UE and GCC? How much do you think there is demand and space to grow?
Well, before I answer that, I would maybe follow up on what Charles said, because he's absolutely right? And the policies and the mandates that are being developed globally have a direct impact on the success of certain technologies, right? So if we take a step back from fuels and think about mobility, we've seen various policies centered around electrification. Let's electrify our vehicle fleet. And the car manufacturers were forced to electrify with no afterthought as how that will be done. Where do these critical materials come from? How do we build these batteries? What does it mean for the consumer? What does it mean for the fleet operator, right? So this total cost of ownership kind of view has been completely ignored. And what happened? China dominated the electrification of vehicles. It completely destroyed German car manufacturers, but by all of European car manufacturers, right? So these policies are challenging, I get it, but also can have a very negative impact when implemented incorrectly. And furthermore, just going back to the subsidy topic that Charles raised, that too inherently defines what customers buy and not necessarily what's better or cheaper, right? So last year, the year before, in Germany, there was a subsidy for consumers to purchase electric cars. And so they all went to buy it because they were artificially cheaper, right? The moment the subsidy has changed by only €1,000, which is not much, only by €1,000, that has inherently led to the complete dismay of the supply chain for those cars. So Volkswagen actually shut down a production line for some time to manufacture these EVs because the uptake wasn't there, because it was artificially driven by flawed policy that promoted a certain technology over another, not necessarily because of technical merit or the actual sustainability metrics. So that's just my thought on policies and how they can, positively or negatively affect our lives. And now I forgot what you actually asked me, to be honest.
I asked you especially regarding UE region and GCC. Sustainable aviation fuel is something UE is really investing into these days. So I just wanted to understand how do you see the market in the GCC regarding synthetic gasolines, regarding the SAF?
That's a very difficult question. I arrived here 3 months ago, so I'm new. I'm based in Abu Dhabi currently, and I've been speaking to all the large oil refiners, everyone here. And depending who you ask, you get a different answer. So as of right now, I don't believe there are any mandates or policies for sustainable fuels, full stop. I've been hearing there's something coming, and it's going to come in October, then I heard November, and now I'm hearing January. I wasn't able to pinpoint any of this legislation anywhere. I'm not really sure how to do so, but the potential for synthetic fuels is huge, right? So the UAE has a net zero strategy, and going back to what I said earlier, decarbonizing, mobility and logistics emissions is super challenging, super expensive, and it could be done in multiple ways. Synthetic diesel or biodiesel from Charles, or synthetic gasoline or aviation fuels are all tangible solutions to decarbonizing majority of the emissions associated to logistics. So the potential is huge. It just depends whether the mandates will come or not, because as of today, it's very much dependent on the sustainability, let's say, strategy of those relevant companies. And even within these large groups that have CSOs that understand the need to decarbonize, there isn't really a definite strategy in place as far as I know, but please bear in mind I've been here only for 3 months, so I'm still learning.
There are definitely strategies and regulation which are expected to come in the UE itself. It's a matter of time. Globally there are quite, globally there are quite large players who are impacting how regulations are currently being held, especially in this region. And it is, I think the big question is that does advocacy and talking about it really makes much of a difference, or do we need to wait for the regulations to come in? So Dr. Salam, based on your experience with working with Dubai Chambers and Dubai Recycling Factory, I would really want to hear from you. How do you think leadership, advocacy, policies can make a difference? How do you think we can push for better regulations to come in this region?
Well, if I may dwell a little bit on closing the loop within the panel here, if you don't mind, with the oil being one of your expertise as products, we, in our recycling facilities and in our furnaces, using the combustion system of either gas, and we have let also a small avenue for using the reclaimed oil as part of the combustion system within very much environmentally confirmed by the municipality approvals. So we could have one customer for you for the cooking oil. Maybe we can use it as combustion oil for our furnaces. And with that, we close the loop right over here. I'll come back to the advocacy, which is part of what I was one of the founders of the Dubai Recycling Business Group as a director of advocacy under the patronage of Dubai Chambers. And I believe they're very concerned about lobbying for the climate action, and really keen to see that the zero waste strategy, which is being put by the D30 and D50 and D70, all are climbing up the aims and the objective of trying to reach the zero carbon emissions and the optimum utilization of the available energy in terms of renewable energy. Now, we believe that each and every one of us here in this room who care could be an ambassador for the climate action, not only those who are on the podium, because we believe this starts right at home. As they say, charity begins at home. My third son, when he was only 6 years old, he was asking for pocket money, and he was comparing his take-home money with other peers who were getting close to 50 dirhams a day for their school expenses as spoiled kids. I said, you get yourself only 5 dirhams. He said, that's not going to buy me anything. I said, I give you a way to make money. Look at all the cans are available at the household, collect them in one bag, and all the metals and utensils and whichever could go to a throwaway bin, bring it into the factory backyard at the scale where they will put it and pay you money for it. First time he filled up a bag, he got himself 100 dirhams worth of money. He thought, oh, that's a lot of money. I said, that's how you make money. Use the end-of-life material, bring it into the right facility. That's a closed loop. If each and every one of us try to apply this methodology in their own homes, whether it's utensils, whether it's extra food, where there's a lot of packaging companies. We throw feast maybe every weekend at our homes. If we call on those packaging companies that they can pack the food and put it into the needy people, we close the loop. And we also plug in a lot of loose pockets for needy people. And that's the message. You start to have it as part of your culture, part of your day-to-day practice. and the message goes along into the industrial and into the entire world. So with that note of closing, I think I will say we have to really consider the reusing, either abandon the concept of make, take, and break into make, take, and remake. And with that, we keep the resources available up to the urban mining, leave the deforestation and desertification as the last resort to get into the mines for the precious raw materials which we do need to keep for the generations to come.
Yeah, I mean, definitely change starts from home, so that's a very important point. I mean, I know we do keep pointing on regulations, but each individual, each corporation has their own responsibility as well, which they need to focus on. Maybe on vertical farming, actually this is a topic which is very close to UAE, specifically in Al Ain and Abu Dhabi region. I wanted to understand what barriers or what challenges do you face while maintaining this vertical farming operation, specifically in UAE, in terms of scalability, in terms of further investment opportunities?
Well, definitely there is a lot of challenges we are facing here. It's the climate itself, it's a big problem, and the climate change, it's advantage for us, not disadvantage. But the tough climate in here, from the dust type, from the humidity, from the shortage of water, from all of these things, and the high temperature, it's all the challenges what we are solving and trying to solve in vertical farming agriculture. If we look for the vertical farming agriculture, it's a solution in sustainability. It's not only for the wastage of water and reduction of wastage only. If we look from the perspective we look from the side of the carbon reduction, the vertical farming, it's making huge impact in it. Why? In some calculation for some crops, we do have, for example, a number per square meter. We talk about, let's say, 10 pieces per square meter, while we can have it in vertical farming up to 300 per square meter. So let's imagine it in another way now. Let's say if we have 1 hectare from that crops in normal agriculture, or we have 1 hectare in vertical farming for the same crops, so which is equivalent to 250 or 300 more capacity giving from the same area. When we look to the reduction of carbon, it's not depending about the area as much as depending on the live crops, which is breathing and then taking, let's say, the CO2 and giving the O2 back to the environment. If we apply it in the closed environment concept, when we talk about inside the buildings or inside the offices or inside the houses, it's making big impact in that direction. If we talk about reduction wastage from another point of view, during the logistic, during the moving the crops, the food, the vegetables from region to another region or from area to another area. And if we are in the same country, when we talk, we're moving the things from Al Ain to Abu to Dubai to Sharjah, from Iraq to here and there. During that process and during that logistic, we have a huge waste. We have a lot of waste, which with a vertical farm, it's a step before that waste. It's coming, like to ignore to let that waste not happen from the first stage. Like when we have the urban farming, like when we have I believe in very soon future, not exceed, let's say, 5 to 8 years, you could see tower. It's a farm building. It's not a residential tower anymore, or it's not a commercial tower anymore. You could see
that's a very interesting
farm
vision.
tower, which is it will be only a steel structure with a high-rise building, and it's glass around, and it's only elevator in the middle. Imagine it that way. You access all the floors, and you have a season flat the whole year. It's the same. solving a lot of problems of logistics, solving a lot of problems in waste of water, solving a lot of, giving a big advantage in reduction of carbon, and giving big advantage in food security. So all of that aspects, it's linked to one subject, but that subject is very complicated because it's linked to many elements also. So this is the challenges what we face to solve it, all of it, which make it successful.
You know, vertical farming is definitely one of a very challenging sector, especially in terms of managing waste. I mean, there's a lot of wastage in the traditional farming, and UAE's focus in vertical farming is increasing a lot, especially for us to get much fresh fruits and vegetables rather than importing from different regions. So I think we are short in time. So yeah, so it has been a very engaging discussion, and I wanted the participants, if they have any questions they would like to ask. Oh, there's no time. I think there's one question. Okay, I'm so sorry. There's no time for questions, but you can connect with the panelists after after we are done. So thank you very much, and thanks for connecting, and thank you to each one of you for sharing your experiences.
Thank you.
Thank you.